All right.
Hello.
So, I know I brought this movie up to you before.
Definitely. And it's fun because, so I messaged several people after watching this movie and scolded them for never recommending it to me. But
to be fair, I didn't know you had a Brendan Fraser. If
you say Fraser, he knows where you live.
Oh, okay.
But this is sorry, that's a clip. Anyway, but no, you did definitely recommend this to me. But so I messaged everybody and I was like, "How dare you not recommend this movie to me?" Like if I would ask people like, "Oh, have you seen this movie?" And they're like, "Yeah," and I'm like, ridiculous.
And what?
But I messaged you, and
AIRHEADS.
But I messaged you and I said, I formally apologize if you ever recommended this movie to me and I did not watch it.
Well, because I know I've quoted this movie before.
There's no way you
because I definitely, I used the joke from this movie in Midnight Show with Lemmy, when we actually had Lemmy.
And being the editor of the school magazine.
Yeah. Well, I used
the Lemmy or God.
The guy Lemmy's got, but I also used to do the thing, I used to say to my friend Kevin all the time, I was like, because he had, the easiest life, I was like, You wake up when the sun is warm, good, ride your bike down by the high school or whatever. This was 94? Okay.
So Brendan is 25.
Okay, alright, yeah.
Depending on when it came out.
This was,
it came out August 5th of 94.
Yeah, because I saw it in the theater.
His birthday's in December.
And the funny thing about this movie is this movie planted the seed of something that I still do to this day.
What's that?
Which it...
Oh yeah, you said you were going to tell me about... What? Okay. Hello?
I have no idea. I guess she was sure that's a rat. Great. We just did the Rats review before we did this one.
But yeah, sorry.
So we used to go to the ACO Multiplex. And we'd go every Friday night, whatever the new big movie was or whatever. And we'd always see where the movie was playing was going to be, considering how popular they thought the movie was. Okay. So I remember asking the guy, and I was like, I think I was in 5th grade or something, or 6th grade when this came out, and the manager being like, "Oh, we put this here because I think it's going to do this much business and this much." So when I started programming movies, I started doing the same thing, and I remember I asked him when we saw AIRHEADS because I was like, "Oh, this movie's going to be huge." And it bombed. And it was funny because it was one of those things that we came back the next Friday and it was already all the way down in their smallest theater. So, but this was the time when he was popular at this point.
Well, he hadn't hit George of the Jungle fame yet, because that's 97 and 99.
And then, but Adam Sandler was kind of coming into his own.
He had just done Opera Man, I believe, on SNL, right?
Okay, yep.
Because I found an interview. Well, I found interviews with all three of them.
The year before Billy Madison.
Yeah. I found interviews with all three of them afterwards, and they pretty much just talked about SNL to Adam Sandler because he's like. By the way, that interview and this movie have single-handedly made me at least 10 times more of an Adam Sandler fan than I ever was, which is quite a bit because I did not like him before. I never liked his brand of humor, and I just did not vibe with him because I've been getting shown some of his movies lately, and I'm like, I don't vibe with him. I don't get this. But as a background character, oh my god, he's hilarious in this.
I always would say how come black people don't like me?
God.
But yeah, I remember going to see this movie in the theater. I remember, because Chris Farley's in it as well.
Yeah, he's Wilson.
Yeah, and Ernie Hudson's in this movie. Harold Ramis is in this movie. It's directed by the guy who did Heathers.
Yeah.
So I remember this being a movie we were excited about coming out. Plus it was heavy metal and all that kind of stuff.
Also, Neil told me I guess they filmed in Nakatomi Plaza.
Yes, from Die Hard,
excitement.
But yeah, so it's just one of those things I just distinctly remember when this was out, and it was one that we quoted a lot.
There's so much to quote.
Yeah.
There's so much to quote. It's every fucking sentence in this movie is gold.
But it's just one of those ones that if you're not discovering it now, and you weren't there for it, it's a movie that doesn't really resonate with people anymore.
That's wild. Alright, I guess I get it. I guess, but I wouldn't. But everything about it just hit me. Because so starting with how I started watching this. So I previously watched. What the fuck did I see? I saw something with Brendan Fraser in it. And it was Bedazzled. So I watched Bedazzled,
right. Which is a remake of a Dudley Moore movie. Yep.
I watched Bedazzled I'm gonna say I meant to look up how many days exactly for a specific reason. Approximately 2 weeks ago, I watched Bedazzled, and
Elizabeth Hurley is fucking beautiful.
Oh
in
my
that movie.
god! So that finishes, and YouTube recommends me Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah.
And I've never seen that. And I was like, oh, sweet. So I click on that. 20 seconds in, I realize it's a musical. And I'm like, it's fine. I'm just going to get through it. And it was good.
It has the most expensive deleted ending of any movie ever.
Yeah, Neil was mentioning that too. But specifically, I keep wanting to reference because I was like live messaging this. So as I'm watching this, I'm trying to decide if I find Rick Moranis hot or not.
Okay.
Right? Because why not? And I say at first, I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. And then I respond to that message, and I'm like, actually, maybe he's kind of cute, but it's not fair to him because I just watched a movie with Brendan Fraser.
Exactly.
And Neil goes, oh, you'd love him in Airheads. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm sure I would, because, you know. And then he sends a picture, and that was all I could think about for the rest of the movie.
Oh yeah, he's an Adonis at that point.
By the way, Steve Buscemi also?
Yeah. And the funny thing is, I had only known Steve Buscemi. Steve Buscemi, and before this, I had seen him in a movie called Ed and His Dead Mother. Okay. And it was like very indie, kind of like when Brad Pitt was doing like Johnny Suede and stuff like that. Like it wasn't like a mainstream movie. And I had seen him in that, and then I remember there was a thing, I don't think it was Terror in the Isles, but it was like this thing that was just made up of a compilation of scenes from horror movies, and he plays one of the guys in the theater, and I just remember his eyes, you know, and then like, then I see him in this, I was like, oh, it's that guy from that thing, you know?
Because, so yeah, Neil sends me this picture, and I want to finish Little Shop of Horrors, but now my brain is occupied.
Jonesing.
So now I start Googling Brendan Fraser Airheads, because I don't even know his character's name, just like, I would like to see more of this, please. And I start just sending, like, pictures that I'm finding to Neil and Gerald, and I'm like, this is obscene, this should be illegal, you know, my usual, like, unacceptable, right? But that's all I knew about the movie, is just Brendan Fraser's really hot in this.
Yeah.
So I'm like, alright, sure. And it ends, and initially Neil's like, oh yeah, well, I'll watch it together. And I'm like, nope, I'm queuing it up now.
I can't wait.
And so I am like live messaging as I'm watching this, and just from the get-go, instantly in love. Instantly in love with this movie. Yeah. I have seen it. The reason I was going to check how many days it's been since I watched it, which I think it was the 22nd. Okay. I have watched it at least once every day since. A couple days has been 2 or 3 times.
So you have a mental illness.
No.
I don't think I've seen this. I don't think I've seen this movie since 1999.
Yeah. Oh, but it was still like cycling through Comedy Central?
No, I think it was on Comedy Central a lot. But I had it on. It was one of the ones I had on DVD because it was those cheap like snap cover ones. Yeah. And I had the soundtrack as well. Because I had this soundtrack, I had, because this one reminds me of that time period of, like, you ever see Empire Records?
I haven't yet.
Oh, okay.
I know that Liv Tyler's in it.
Liv Tyler's in it, yeah. I think that was her first, like, big movie.
Yeah, I think so.
And Guar's in it.
Yes.
You play a mean axe, too bad you have to die. But yeah, that's why every year, like, they do Rex Manning Day, so. But yeah, these kind of movies that have that, like, kind of grunge metal... you know, soundtracks of this era where, you know, Beavis and Butthead Do America and stuff like that.
Oh, they're also in the movie. Yeah. When
when they call.
They call it, because they it's right after Everybody Ransacked.
Is Rob Zombie in the movie too?
He is, yes.
Okay.
Which was funny because in order, right? It's when, so that part's when Wilson, Chris Farley, goes to look for Kayla. I don't like her. So he goes to look for Kayla, and, you know, Chaz was like, oh, check the whiskey, right?
Yeah.
So she's there. Which is also funny because he rolls up with her, like, posing in a bathing suit in the picture. And he was given the direction that she's going to be a blonde wearing something tight and black. And he's he's obviously surrounded by
everyone there, yeah.
He's like, great, right? But yeah, he goes in there, but as he's walking in, they show them the marquee, and it says White Zombie. I'm like, oh, that's neat. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. They had a little reference to it. And then it cuts to in the club, and I'm like,
do you know who it was originally supposed to be?
Cannibal Corpse?
Yep.
And a couple other bands.
Well, Cannibal Corpse, and they didn't get him because they were in Ace Ventura. Because that was, apparently Jim Carrey's favorite band was Cannibal Corpse, so he got them in the movie. And so because they did that one, they couldn't do this one, so they got Rob Zombie.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I saw that it was like a couple other bands were asked. I watched on Cannibal Corpse because I love them as well. I don't remember the other two.
It was just so funny when they pop up in Ace Ventura.
That is insane. So I've never seen Ace Ventura, but like every reference I hear to it, I'm like, man, if that was my brand of humor, I would probably love this movie.
I think
also the Dolphins are involved. The Miami
Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins are involved because somebody steals the Dolphins mascot.
Oh, Flipper, yeah.
Yeah, and then they play the Eagles in the Super Bowl at the end.
That's awesome.
But the movie has a unfortunate anti-trans
I did also
twist.
hear that, yeah, the Einhorn thing or whatever.
And there's a whole thing where it is funny, like you watch it now and you go, the context of it is funny.
Right.
But like it's like he's got to keep looking for who has a Super Bowl ring that's missing stones.
Okay.
Because that's how the clue that he finds.
Right.
So he's going around like all the different players that played on that Dolphins team and checking their Super Bowl rings. So he's like pretending to be like a handicapped child, like getting an autograph. But he's in a bathroom. There's like a guy peeing, and he's like looking over at him. And then when he sees that the ring is fine, he walks away. And then the guy goes like this, and like trances off after him. And I was just like, okay, I could see how people would probably find that as But
back to Airheads.
Back to Airheads.
Then it cuts to White Zombie because like that was part of my live messaging because I was like, oh neat, White Zombie reference. Because earlier in the movie, when they get David Arquette, whose name Carter, it's Carter.
Carter, yeah.
I just called him David.
That's right. David Arquette's in this movie too.
He is so. He's something in this movie because the introduction shot, which is when Chaz grabs him, is. What would you put her on the Clydesdale scale? That's how many Clydesdales you think it'd take to rip her face off? Yeah, I bet it would hurt. Oh my god. But anyway, behind him there's a KMFDM logo. I was like, KMFDM. But yeah,
Yeah, this was like...
Which was also fun because I was like, does David Arquette always talk like this?
He's a wrestler too.
Oh, that's why I keep saying his name. Okay,
yep.
yeah. He's very funny in this. When he runs away and he tries to come back, and he's like, "No, I promise I won't try anything." And Rex is just like, "We shouldn't have escaped then."
Yeah.
It's so obviously the first time I watched this movie, I think, what did I say to you? I was like, now that I've seen this movie and I wasn't watching it with my pussy, because first round, right? Obviously, Chaz is, Brendan Fraser is, And then Steve Buscemi pops up, and I'm like, "Oh, that's a good look for you."
Yeah.
And so the whole movie, I'm just obsessed with them, right? And then obviously I watch it 20 more times.
Yeah.
And,
like a normal.
Yeah. Right. Now I've seen.
To be fair, I think I saw this 3 times in the theater.
Oh, by the way, we also identified the game that Why am I blanking out? Yvonne? Yvonne's playing. When they first show the shot of her, like, not looking at she is playing... Hold on.
Okay. Because this movie...
It's on a Game Gear. It's like a Game Gear.
Oh, okay. So... But this movie came out, again, 94. This is that perfect era for me of, like, discovering, like... getting to watch, like, the SNL guys do, like, dirtier comedy. Yeah. That era of music and everything. Like, this was, like, a perfect storm type of movie for me. And again, Chris Farley at that point probably was the biggest name.
Okay, the game that she's playing is Aerial Assault.
Oh, okay, I know that game. Yeah, I know that game.
So, I've been a little obsessed with this movie, just a smidge.
But when you told me about it, I was like, oh man, now I'm excited to talk about it. And I wanted to rewatch it ahead of time, but I just haven't had time to.
But yeah, because as soon as I finished the first watch of it, I messaged Newton. That's when I was like, I formally apologize for never watching this movie. And then, I was like, Neil wants us to review it. And by Neil, I mean, he's the one who suggested it, but also, because we hung out a couple times in between my first watch of it and today. And each time I was, like, clearly trying not to talk about it, you know what I mean?
You brought it up in the Rats one. I was like, we'll get to it.
I know, I was like, don't do it.
So what is the plot of this movie?
Okay, so the plot of this movie, Brendan Fraser is part of a band, and...
what are they called?
The Lone Rangers. And,
no, there's clearly 3 of them.
There's 3 of you. You're not exactly lone.
Well, then, because I always think about the lone gunman from the X-Files, you know?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're trying to figure out how to get signed, right? And they're at a record release party, and the Sons of Thunder, the guy's like, who is oh my god, I know what band that is. I forget. It starts with a D or something. But
Okay.
the band that plays the Sons of Thunder. I don't know. I actually thought you would be able to pick that up.
I thought it was the guy from Anthrax.
It was.
He's in the movie.
Yeah, well, because YouTube recommended me this video, and they were like, "Is this Chris Jericho?" I'm like, "It's not Chris Jericho." Hold on, the Sons of Thunder.
But yeah, so this movie is basically the '90s heavy metal version of Dog Day Afternoon.
Yeah. So, so the Sons of Thunder are like, "Hey, thanks for playing our shit on the radio because now we got signed."
Yeah.
And Chaz now is like, "Oh, we have to do that. We got to get our stuff played on the radio." Because he keeps breaking into like the nearby record place and like trying to give them the demo, which is a cover of Degenerated by Reagan Youth.
Yes, yep.
Yeah. I was trying to remember the name of the band, and which, side note, is obviously he plays at the end. I downloaded it.
Okay,
there's not
but it's funny. I knew
that
song. I remember knowing the song beforehand, and again, this is one of those things where I was talking to somebody after the movie came out, and I'm a dumb 5th grader.
They are played by the Galactic Cowboys.
Oh, okay, yeah, all right. But I remember saying something about, it's a Reagan Youth, and the guy at the thing being like, how the fuck do you know what that is? And I was like, And this is an era before the internet. I was just kind of like looking shit up, you know?
But yeah, so, Kayla kicks him out, and I do not like her. My first watch through, I was like, okay, she's making some good points. He should probably get off his ass and get a job. And then I'm like, yeah, but the response to that isn't to, like, try to break his nose, kick him in the nuts, and then, like, break all his shit. I feel like that's a little bit of an overreaction.
With his motorcycle that says fag.
Yes! Oh my god, yeah, because I didn't realize that my first, like, 12 watches or whatever.
Because you sent me a picture, I was like, that is it.
Because it was when they pull up to Rex's and Pip's place after, and he, like, parks, I'm like, does that say fag? So then I go back, because then now Neil and I are debating why it would say that, because I'm like, wouldn't he get it painted over? What the fuck? And then we realize at the beginning of the movie, it's not there.
Yeah.
When he pulls up Palatine Records, you can see, like, you can't see it, like, shot from above like that, but you can see enough of the front, like, tire cover that you're like, okay, it's not there. And then you don't, when it does show up, it's after she kicks him out.
Yeah.
So I'm like 99% sure she did that.
Which is, that's weird.
Oh my god, I hate this woman. Anyway, it was just so funny because I went from like, oh, okay, yeah, you know, that's a little shitty. And now I'm like, because I keep rewatching it, I have to skip the argument that they get into, the part where she kicks him out, because I get so mad.
This 30-year-old movie.
I know. And, but yeah, anyway, so yeah, his bike says fag on it now, and it's fine.
But he keeps it there.
Yeah.
Because there was this period of time, I always think about, like, Kurt Cobain wearing a dress. It's like they didn't care about that kind of thing, you know? Yeah.
But anyway, right, so, she kicks him out, he goes to Rex, he's like, she kicked me out again, which, again? Anyway, and so, they go back to Rex's and Pip's place. I can't talk. And they've stolen a bunch of shit from the store that he works at, and one of them are these like realistic looking water guns that were discontinued because of how realistic they look. So Rex puts like hot sauce in them or whatever, and they decide to bring the guns with them to try to get the radio station to play their record. So they roll up, and they break in. Because this one chick's like fawning over Pip, and so they get in there. And by the way, this movie has made me really appreciate the guy who plays Ian, Joe Montaigne.
Oh, Joe Montaigne, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why
he says he's Fat Tony. All right, Fat Tony. He's one of the mobsters on The Simpsons. Because at the one point in the movie, he's like, he'll be home in time to watch The Simpsons.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. And they let Yvonne go, but So he's kind of humoring them, and then Milo rolls up, who's actor I forget, but I've seen him in things before. But long story short, they end up pulling out the guns, right, and holding this radio station hostage until they can play their tape. So at first that seems like a relatively easy thing to do, like they open the tape and they're like, okay, we're only set up for CDs and cassettes, so they need a reel-to-reel. They bring the reel-to-reel. Marcus is so great, by the way. Every line of his is gold. I know like every line of this movie is gold, but he's hilarious. Like I love him. I don't think there's a single character in this that I'm not like, that's great. Yeah. That's great.
Again, it's just this perfect snapshot of actors and time period in this thing that, because people always poo-poo the 90s. Like, no, there's some stuff that just is great,
just
you know?
And, you know, but the Pip loads it wrong or something, and the real eats it, and then it eventually gets lit on fire.
Yeah.
Because Rex was smoking before. Which, side note, okay, Rex is the most, like, I know you never met Scream, but if I could, like, distill him, like, that, just basically 1-to-1, and I'm like, wow, that's awesome. So that was also, I loved that. Like, definitely, if I wasn't so attached to Brendan Fraser going into this, I would have probably attached to Rex more. But, so, anyway, so he's smoking, and that ends up, the thing's on fire. Ian puts that with some beer, which was awesome.
Yeah. It's very
but now they're like, well, fuck, they try to run, but, fucking Kramer, what the hell's his name? In this, his last name is Beach. I forget what his first name is, but he's been running around the vents the whole time, right? Which, again, very Die Hard, because he gets in the vents and I'm like, oh, that's funny. It's kind of like Die Hard. And then shortly after, Neil's like, hey, you know where they filmed this? And I was like, oh,
that makes sense.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's neat. So that's the other thing is like every time I watch this, there's like a new reference that I get. I'm like, wow, that's just great. Everything. It just feels so perfectly constructed, this movie. But yeah, so he's fucking around the vents, and at one point he gets a phone and he's able to call the cops.
Yeah.
So Real eats the demo, right? Lone Rangers try to run. And they're surrounded by cops. There's like that weird standoff that Adam Sandler has with one of the cops where he just starts fucking dancing. But so you know they're established perimeter. Now they're like, fuck, we're stuck, right?
Yeah.
So Ian pulls Chaz out and is like, because you know Chaz is trying to think like, what the fuck do we do now? At first he just collects everybody in the room because he's like, I just need to think, right? And then they realize they've taken hostages. Like, that's definitely, like, a moment where they're like, oh.
Oh, yeah,
you know?
this is bad now.
they're talking, and, you know, it's like, oh, the police want to know your demands for releasing the hostages. And Pip's like, hostages? And he's like, I hate to, you know, he's like, what you're doing here is a felony.
Yeah.
Maybe worse. And then so like, well, what do you want? And Pip's like, I don't want anything. I just don't want to go outside.
Don't they ask for like naked pictures of B. Arthur?
Yeah. Because fast forwarding, when they do decide to give out the demands, they decide they're like, oh, we'll give them what we actually want, and then just throw a bunch of random shit in so we can plead insanity. This was apparently Pip's idea.
Yeah.
And as all this is happening, they're slowly gathering a crowd because they're on the air the whole time, so that people know that this is happening. So like fans are gathering.
Yeah.
People are, you know, and so right. Ian pulls Chaz out and is like, so okay, you just wanted to play your thing, and now there are cops outside with guns, you know, and he's all anxious, and I'm very happy about it. I like an anxious guy, you know.
Yeah. Oh, we watched that fucking Adam Driver movie the entire time. You were like squirming in your seat.
But yeah, so Chaz is very like, oh god. And Ian's clearly trying to lead him to like, so let us go.
Yeah,
right? Because he's like, so your tape's busted. What do you have left to do? And Chaz is just like, get the other copy of the tape. So, now he goes.
The obvious choice.
Right, duh. However, that copy of the tape is with Kayla, who threw it out of the car because she's mad at Chaz because she's fucking psycho. Anyway, derogatory.
And very anti-gay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
She's the villain of this story.
Like, she kind of is.
Yeah.
But, it's fine. So, yeah, she tosses it out of the car, and I was just in the road. Which I commented at one point, because there's like guys crossing the road, one kicks it. I'm like, you know, it's a good thing that no one like me was walking around, like, obviously, story-wise, you know, because if I saw a random-ass cassette tape, I would just pick it up.
Yeah.
I'd just take it. And then they would never be able to, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Chris Farley would never find it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Kayla ends up bringing it in. But, yeah, so... after a dog pissed on it. But
yeah, that's right.
Sorry, my brain started playing Rex's lines from that scene. But, so yeah, he goes out and he's like, look, you gotta find my girlfriend. She's got the only other copy of the tape. Once we play this tape, we'll fuck off, right? So,
like, they're just gonna let you walk away.
Right? So, That's when they send Chris Farley to go get her. He gives her. It's so great because he's like, she's totally pissed at me, and pulls this picture out. And like I said, she's like in a bikini, like posing on a car or whatever. So yeah, Chris Farley gets that picture, and now is going down to look for her.
So the dude pulls his shield off.
Oh
so
yeah.
He pulls his
so
out.
He rolls up to the whiskey. And like he has to like get through some people, and then he's trying to get Kayla to come down with him. He's like, because at first he's like, "Hey, I'm here to talk to you about Chaz," and she's like, "If he needs bail money, tell him to fuck off or whatever." And I'm like, "Okay, that's fine. Or tell him you can forget it." That's what it is. And then, but now he's like, "No, like there's a situation. You have the tape. We need the tape." And I don't know what he says. One thing because they like cut away for a second, and she goes, "Not anymore," and like that, I fixated on that for some reason. But so then she gets up and leaves, and those guys he pushed through earlier notice him, and they start getting in his face. They rip off his badge. They're like, "What are you gonna do about it?" And he rips out their nipple ring and goes, "Improvise," and that like especially hit for me because the night before I saw this movie, I had gone to a wrestling show, and two things happened that were inadvertently referenced in the movie.
Okay.
One of them, a guy did not get them ripped out, but I realized after the match he had wrestled in nipple.
You told me about that, yep.
And that, when I noticed that, even before I watched the movie, I was like he's doing his victory lap, and I was like,
yeah.
Because I get if you're like, I don't feel like taking out my eyebrow, or my lip, or my ear. You're risking your nipples?
Yeah, no thanks.
But he's clearly been doing it long enough. I'm like, I'm not gonna tell him to take them out, and I wouldn't anyway. But like,
pasties,
right? Like, you just have those chilling, like, because I don't take mine out when I wrestle, but I have stuff on top. Yeah, no one's gonna rip that out. But like, oh my god, but
that scene, the improvised thing, it was in all the trailers.
Oh yeah, of course.
That was the ending of every trailer.
Yeah. But yeah, so Kayla hears on the radio that Chaz wants the tape, and because he's periodically saying shit. They're also just playing good music. It's honestly, this seems like a really fun hostage situation, which makes sense because they weren't trying to, obviously Rex wants to be scared, but everyone else is like, man, we're just here, like So like, get to the fight, they start ransacking the place, because initially they're like, oh, well, we'll make demands, which is when we got they asked for to get pictures of the Arthur, they asked for a giant baby bottle.
That's right,
a fucking football helmet with cottage cheese in it.
And
they asked for like different musical instruments that they want, Rex asked for a specific bass. And so they make these demands, and which also, notably, when they call those in, Rex says, oh yeah, we want a record deal, which pisses Chaz off, because his whole thing is like, I just want, he's like, I want to get played, and then from there we'll do the rest.
Isn't his line like, I'm messed up enough that I can make one song?
I'm messed up, I'm screwed up and average enough that if I can make one song that,
can live off it for the rest of my life,
Well, it's after that, it don't matter. It's more about a legacy than anything else.
Yep.
But, throughout the whole movie, he's very, I just want to play the tape. The rest is going to come naturally. Which it kind of already accidentally did. And they keep having to put this out to them. You can't buy this kind of media exposure, because by the end of the movie, it's hundreds of people.
Yeah, it's like
a full concert.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of what was that? The Legend of, I can't remember the name of the movie. Okay. And the girl who was Supergirl in the movie Supergirl, and had the song by I'm blanking now. It's great. It's great. Whatever. Yeah. But it has that same thing where they built up this cult following that they have, and that's kind of reminding me of this. A little bit of Wayne's World 2 as well, where they're putting on Wayne stock. You know. Yeah.
But buffering, backing up slightly, because now my brain's playing different scenes from the movie. That's the fun thing is now that I've memorized it essentially as we're talking, different scenes are just playing in my head, and I'm like, back up, I'm not there yet. But so hold on, right? So they make the demands. Oh my god, where does it? Hold on. Trying to play the movie in my brain. I'm fast forward.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in so many years. But I remember it so well because it was getting me. My friend Kevin and I used to just quote that and Tommy Boy
Yeah.
and stuff like that, like all the time.
Dude, the first I Ain't Farting on No Snare Drum killed me.
Yeah.
Absolutely slaughtered. I was laughing for like 20 minutes. It was
Actually,
so
and
funny.
then this is
Because
around
he's
the
got
same-
the mask on. Oh
This is around the same time of what's it called, 2 Coneheads.
Oh yeah,
Because
yeah.
Adam Sandler and Chris Farley were in that as well. Yeah. It was
But,
just like a weird time of SNL people.
Oh, that's what it was. As they make the demands, and they're also like just ransacking the place
Mm.
because they you know, they were like, oh, we could probably get some stuff from the cops. And I'm like, fuck it, we can get some stuff here.
Yeah.
You know, they start grabbing all the CDs
Mhm.
and whatnot. Susie's helping them. She's adorable. I
Yeah.
love it. And you know, eventually, they're talking about their stuff, and then Milo's like, he's like, oh, as if your stuff's any good, right? There's also I love the line where, you know, that they're like, why don't you guys ever play this stuff?
Yeah.
And he sort of scoffs and is like, well, they're not blowing up the charts.
Mm-hmm.
And Rex just goes, it's because you never play them,
Yeah,
Dave. And
yup.
I'm like, oh,
Well, that was the David Bowie thing when he was on MTV, and he's like, how come you don't play more black artists?
yeah. It's
You
like,
know?
oh, because they don't do it.
Yeah, and it's
'Cause
like,
you're not
well,
playing it.
You're not playing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah. So then in the course of that conversation, it's revealed they hinted at it at the beginning of the movie, but now it's revealed fully to the audience and more specifically to Ian and like the rest of the staff that they're going easy listening.
Mhm.
I believe it takes place on a Friday, if I'm doing my math correctly. Friday in the middle of July.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like basically effective Sunday at midnight. We're going easy
Yeah.
listening. We're letting go of everybody, right? Restaffing.
In Philly, I'll never forget this. There was Eagle 106,
Mhm.
and that is basically WMMR.
Mhm.
Was the MMR was always that, but like
Yeah,
Eagle
yeah.
106 got a lot of the
It was
MMR
like
people.
Yeah.
And at one night, they just switched over and became a jazz station. And I remember the next day getting in the car, my mom
And
would
having
drive us
them,
to school,
like,
and I would be like, "Where's because
Yeah.
Preston and Steve used to be on Eagle 106."
Oh, okay,
yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Yep.
But so yeah, now we have that. Like I said, there's just so many layers to this
Mhm.
movie. And it's phenomenal. But yeah, then Ian attacks Milo, which is great. No one's upset about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the situation progresses. They're still trying to get the tape. They're trying to like wait, or you know, they're waiting for Kayla to get back. And she does end up bringing the tape after it's been. Well, after it's obviously been kicked around the road,
Yeah.
one of the cars is straight up bouncing on it during Shamrocks and Shenanigans, and yeah, dog's pissing on it when she finds it.
Mhm.
So she rolls up with it, and obviously, you know, they're like, all right, we can get this to work. We gotta like respool it or
Yeah.
whatever. And she fucking starts freaking out because she's a bitch.
Yeah.
And
Like you do.
yeah, and this annoys me because the Wikipedia article describes this interaction as a fight that escalates. I would completely disagree. Okay, because she starts going off about like, because you know, Rex is like, what the fuck did you do to this thing? But
Yeah.
she tries to say it fell off the dresser. No, it didn't.
You know, and then the dog came in and peed on it in that
Right.
car in your bedroom.
Yeah, right. So but yeah, so Rex is like, what the fuck, man, right? But whatever, we have the tape now. But she starts going off like, I've been around almost as long as these guys, and they should start respecting me, you know. And Chaz's like, I don't have time for this
Yeah.
shit. Like, get out.
Yoko.
You know, yeah. Oh yeah, Rex calls her that. He's like, you took real good care of it, didn't you, Yoko? Yeah. But yeah, so Chaz is like, can you please leave? Like, you did the thing. I need to focus.
Mhm.
Like, there's a lot going on. It's, as Neil said, it's his first time.
It is his first time, and he's so beautiful. You know, he's got a lot going on.
But yeah, so you know, he tries to kick her out, and he comes back around, and he's got his back to the window. And he's like, guys, just go back to what you were doing, whatever. And everyone starts being like, oh shit. She takes a fucking chair and throws it through the window, destroying the console, so they can't fucking broadcast anymore. And then has the audacity to be like, you don't care what happens to me. And I'm like, no, I don't actually. I don't. I stopped caring a long time ago. But you know, he gets all like, you're the only, you know, one of the only things that matters to me. And blah, he says he loves her, and I get pissed off because you deserve better, man.
Yeah.
You can do better. What the fuck? It's fine. I was also trying to figure out how long the relationship has been because the point where they fax over like his like previous record or whatever.
You're doing
they
the
don't-
math on their relationship.
Yeah. That does sound a little
crazy.
You don't understand, actually.
No, I've gathered your, you know.
It gets worse, actually, because in my watching everything Brendan Fraser's been in, I rewatched the episodes of Scrubs. I mentioned that. I will tell you about that later.
Okay.
Long story short, I spent half an hour looking up plane layouts. We'll get there. Anyway, but I'm going through it right now, man.
Yeah.
But
well, I told you gotta watch Gods and Monsters.
I will. That'll be
and
next.
you gotta watch Doom Patrol.
Yes. I'll put that in there as well.
And then he made a movie we'll never see.
Which one?
Batgirl.
Oh.
He was the bad guy in Batgirl, and he got nixed.
Well, I can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
But,
he's good in the Whale.
Yes. Yeah. That's gonna be on the list somewhere as well. But buffering. Where was I? She just destroyed the console, right? But they've also sent they sent a cop in pretending to be a record executive, and that's where you get the infamous "if Lemmy and God had a wrestling match, who would win?" And my immediate reaction was, "Lemmy is God." What are you talking about?
Exactly.
But the guy is Lemmy, and Rex is like, and it's like God. Wrong, dickhead. It's a trick question. Lemmy is God. And they kick him out. Chaz is like, what the fuck? What are you doing? Also, somewhere along the line, we get the guy in the vents gets a gun from the. So you have the Ernie Hudson cop, who I think is O'Malley, and then you have the other guy. I don't remember the actor's name. I don't remember his name. He's annoying. Mace. Mace is the character's name.
Okay.
And he actually. His wife cheated on him with a pool gun.
Yes. Okay.
And that's what prompts the gun, because they tow away Pip's truck, and he's like, "Well, what'd you find in there? Anything dangerous? Good, drugs?" And they're like, "Nah, just some toys and some pool cleaning equipment." He goes, "Pool cleaning gear?" And then it cuts to him being like, "Yeah, they're more dangerous than we thought. You need a gun."
I forgot about the pool cleaning.
Yeah.
Thing.
It's that's when everything about this movie is
connects.
Just so.
Yeah.
Oh my god. But, because I keep forgetting about the guy in the vents, but yeah. Also, Susie successfully seduces Pip.
Yes.
Much to, I think, Rex's disappointment. And to be fair, I was kind of on board with him at the beginning, because she's like, "Hey, I like your hair." And you may know, Adam Sandler's character does not have hair.
Yes, yeah.
Actually, Adam Sandler, the interview I found later, had a whole thing about that. It was actually really funny, because I watched it in the order of Brendan Fraser, Steve Buscemi, and then Adam Sandler. And, they're asking each of them, where did you get the look?
Yeah.
And, Brendan Fraser's like, "Oh, well, I grew up in, Seattle for a little bit. I have the in Europe." And he's going on, right? He knows the scene, basically. He basically he based the character's look off the scene.
Yes.
And then Steve Buscemi, he's like, "Yeah, they asked me to shave my head, and I said no." And they actually gave him extensions. Most of that's his real hair, but they gave him, extensions. Yeah. And then you get to Adam Sandler's, and she asks him the question. And... Buscemi had referenced that, after he said no, they'd gotten Adam Sandler to do it, but he didn't, he obviously didn't go into detail. Adam Sandler also said no, and just, he's like, "Yeah, they said it, they said they wanted me to shave my head," and I was like, wait a minute, and they said, and then just, bzzz. So I don't know. But that was so funny to me, because I could tell they were
have all three of them have long hair.
Right. Well, because they were trying to do the more rap influenced, But I just think it's funny. They definitely did not even ask Brendan Fraser. They looked at his hair and they were like, "You keep that."
No, you keep that.
Then they saw Buscemi, Then they saw Buscemi and they were like, maybe. And he was like, "Nope." And then they went to Adam Sandler and were like, "Well, no one else will do it."
Wow, wait, what? I'm Happy Gilmore.
Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah.
But, Susie's really into him from the get-go. Even back when they were trying to break in. But, so she eventually does seduce him. They're fucking on Milo's $1,400 leather couch.
Yep.
If there's one stain. There's just so much going on at once. Sorry, I remember that because the vents guy, sees him, he peeks over, he's like, ooh. He's having a horrible time in the vent. He sets himself on fire. He gets, blown around at one point. Oh my god.
I want to go to a place where vents are big enough for you to crawl through.
Right?
That's never happened.
But, okay, hold on. She destroyed the console. I'm trying to remember where I'm in the... Oh, yeah, they got the demands, right? Yeah. So, they send the hostages out to get the stuff and bring it inside. And, right when that happens, the door closes on Rex's gun, and it breaks, and all the fucking, hot sauce comes out. So now everyone knows it's fake. Marcus immediately makes good on his threat from the beginning of the movie, because he's like, "You put that gun down, we'll go mano a squad." Yeah. So he immediately is like, as soon as he sees the gun, he's just like, oh, he's making, noises of like rage, just pure rage, and he goes, "Die, dog!" Just punches Rex, which fair. He and David Arquette run out.
Yeah.
Which extra like thing, right? Because Arquette immediately runs into the crowd and is like, "Woo, yeah!" But they try to arrest Marcus.
Yes, yeah.
And he's trying to tell them, he's like, "It's a fake gun," and then you get the great, "It's a plastic gun, move in." So now people, the cops are closing in, and right as that's happening, the guy in the vents, he sticks his arm out because he's got the real gun, right? And he's like, "All right, everybody back against the wall, arms up." Milo's also been tied up to a chair at this point for quite some time, so he's stuck like this. But so everyone's like, "Oh shit." But Ian's standing underneath the vent with the giant baby bottle, and he's like, "Fuck," because over the course of the thing, he's been like really feeling for Chaz and Long Rangers, especially once he realized that the station was going to easy listening, he was getting fired.
What do they call that? It's
the rain. Listen.
No. What they call that thing where you Patty Hearst. She was kidnapped.
Oh, are you talking about Stockholm Syndrome?
Stockholm Syndrome. Yeah.
Well, I don't think that's.
The fuck was that?
I don't know. I don't think that's what the vibe was supposed to be here. I think it was just like, he genuinely was like, "No, fair, fuck it," Yeah. So, and also because of the point where Ian's asking them about their tattoos, and Fraser's like, "Oh, I got barbed wire, I got a gecko," and then he's got the Grim Reaper on his back, and that was where we get the line where like, because he's like, it's death stalking me, telling me I really need to cut a record, get this band together. Because I figure I'm screwed up and average enough that I could make a song that could like last forever, and after that it don't matter. And that was the moment of like, okay, fuck it. But anyway, so back to where we were. Everyone's at gunpoint. No, like for real this time. So Ian has the baby bottle. He just fucking knocks the gun out of his hand. He's like, fuck it, right? Yeah. Gun goes off, sprays into the like out there. They all hit the deck. Which was then great because the singer was like, "It's a real gun, move in." And he's like, he's like, "It's a plastic gun, move in." Now he's like, "It's a real gun," and he cuts to Chris Farley. "God help us all."
I love Chris Farley.
Oh my god, and so Ian picks up the gun and gives it to Chaz. So now Chaz is like, "Fuck it, now I got a real gun." Yeah. Gets everyone back.
I have a machine gun now. Oh.
Yes, now you have a machine gun. I was talking about that movie yesterday, I think. I was trying to remember all the terrorist names, because I had those memories at one point. Because I actually also did this a little bit with Die Hard. Not to the degree I'm doing it with Airheads, but I did watch it every day for like a week or two. But, no, with this I've been like falling asleep to it and watching it just regularly also.
Because you said you woke up to the B. Arthur line.
Oh, yeah, it was great because I knew that like Gerald could hear it because he typed out like, "B. Arthur, outstanding." Hold on. No, I didn't skip it. It's after this. Okay. Because he puts his hand through the broken glass hole. The glass hole. The glass hole. But so they've sent Jimmy Wing down, the Palatine Records guy that had kicked Chaz out at the beginning of the movie. Now they know obviously this guy's a real buffering, a real record exec. There is like a whole, both with the gun thing and the record executive thing, there is like an ongoing, between Mace and O'Malley, there's like an ongoing thing where like they both are trying to take control of the scene. Yeah. And O'Malley's like focused on negotiation and like handling the situation, and Mace wants to get in there and kill everybody like ASAP, right? He's had a rough day. His wife cheated on him, then kicked her out. Or kicked him out. Yep. Which, because I picked up on that line too, because I was like, "Hey, Chaz just got kicked out." And then he's the pool boy thing, and I was like, okay. But yeah. So, so like, for example, after, because Chaz then calls and is like, "What the fuck? Why'd you send, there's guys coming in through the ceiling at me with guns?" And O'Malley genuinely doesn't know about that, so he's like, I didn't do that, But yeah, so then he sends the real record executive in, and it's the guy who kicked Chaz out earlier. And, they start talking about a record contract. And, Chaz is like, well, make him listen to it first, Because, like I said, the whole movie's been very much like, if I get signed because the music is good, that's what matters. Exactly. Right? He's like, the rest of it, this is just, this is just bullshit from trying to get my song played. Yep. And so, But yeah, Milo volunteers to help make sure the contract isn't fucking them over. This was the other line that I was like, oh hey, because at the wrestling show I was at, someone called someone else a scum-sucking weasel.
Yeah.
Which is a really distinct line because I've never heard that insult before. And then, they're at, Chaz is asking Ian, like, hey, is this like a legit?
Yeah.
Because, Milo's like, I'll do it for 10% of the profits. And then, Ian goes, make it 5%, you scum-sucking weasel. I'm like, huh? But it's been 31 years. Why am I hearing it? Anyway.
Everything comes around.
Yeah, but so yeah, they start trying to work out the record thing, the record contract. And now they have the working cassette. They're trying to set it up so that they can play it for Jimmy Wing prior to him pulling up the contract.
Yeah.
And Chaz needs a second. He eats a microwave burrito and ends up squirting it with the gun, which was so funny. It was perfect. He did that. I was like, yeah,
makes sense, right?
And he's going through it, which is fair. He's had a rough day.
It's been a rough day.
It's been a really rough day.
Yeah.
It's his first time kidnapping people. I understand. His girlfriend kicked him out. He's having a day. Yeah. Okay. One of the copies of his demo's ruined. The other one's barely not ruined.
Piss on it.
Yeah, he's going through it. Okay.
He's about to get chased by a mummy for 3 movies.
Yeah. Well, especially the other thing is Rex prompted the whole, he was the one who was like, oh, if we get any static, I'll just shove this in their face.
Yeah.
With the gun. Which, again, prompts an amazing line from Adam Sandler, because he's talking about, he's like, remember that guy with the toy gun?
Oh, yeah.
Tased him until his hair fell off, or until he went bald. He's like, yeah, and then he sued him when his pubes were growing. Still got no hair on his balls, man. Oh my god. Anyway, back to where, the current part of it. So yeah, Chaz is kind of he's trying to get his shit together. Also, a very hot moment from Steve Buscemi where, they're like, all right, well, where's the thing that we're going to use to play it? And Pip's like, oh, did we need that? And he's like, give me your arm for a second. And he takes, a wrench or something and just, crunches his arm. And I was like, oh my god. But yeah, so, we're camera's on Chaz, and eventually everybody comes in. And, first Ian comes in and is like, console's busted. He's like, I tried, it's completely fried, there's nothing I can do.
Gotta do it live.
So they're like, alright, well, Chaz's like, alright, this fucking sucks, right? But right as he's, having a crisis about that as well, everybody else comes in, is like, we got it, we got the record contract, I'll sign, all you have to do is sign on the last page, whatever. Kayla fucking is a table for him. She needs to be involved. And, so, he's excited. He's like, fuck yeah, we got a contract, right? And as they're all celebrating, Pip comes in, and he's holding the thing they're going to use to play the cassette. And Chaz's like, oh, what's that? He's like, did you guys play it for him yet? And they were like, well, no. And so now Jimmy Wing's trying to, backpedal, and he's like, no, I heard it on the radio. He's like, you heard it for about 5 seconds before it got 8. He's like, well, it's not just the music, it's how you talk about it. No deal, right? No deal. Chaz gets really upset. No deal. Milo's like, but this is what you wanted. Like, what the hell? He ends up wiping his ass with the record contract, throwing it at Milo. Ian loves this. Who doesn't, honestly?
Yeah, of course.
When I've looked up, GIFs, there are, 3 or 4 moments that I keep seeing. That's one of them.
Yeah.
It's that. It's, when he blows the kiss at Rex's coworker. And, just a couple other ones.
Yeah,
but that was like, okay, yeah. So, yeah, he throws the record contract, then you get, of course, the line, wipes his ass with his record contract. I love this guy. But yeah, so Chaz is like, if I'm going to be a rock star, I'm going to do it on my own terms. And Jimmy Wing is like, look, you already are. Yeah. There are hundreds of people out there. That's when he says, you can't buy this kind of exposure. And, first, they're like, well, let's just play the tape on the radio. Or Rex is like, well, just play it, because then other people will be throwing contracts at us. And, obviously the console's busted. They can't do that. Yeah. So,
they're going to pull Beatles.
Yeah. So then, now that Chaz is like, all right, fine. Especially because then Jimmy Wing's like, look, rock stars don't go to jail. Now that you've signed that, you're under our lawyer umbrella, right? And that's when you also get the line of Christ, Vince Neil only got 30 days and he killed somebody. Technically, he only did 15.
Yeah.
I looked it up afterwards. I was like, damn. But so yeah, Chaz is like, fine, right? We'll play ball. But he's like, but I still need you to hear it. I still want you to hear it. We still need to play it for the audience, whatever. So then Jimmy Wing goes and he's like, he pretends that they have another demand.
Yeah.
And you don't hear what it is, but it cuts to them. There's like a live set being flown in, and you know they're super hyped. Like hell yeah, we get to play for a live audience. Like let's go, right? This is even better. And then Jimmy Wing reveals that they want to make a video out of it, so they have to pantomime.
Yep.
They're lip syncing, right? Obviously, the band is not dealing with this. That's when we get the ain't farting in a snare drum line because you know Chaz is like, our album may as well be Pip farting on a snare drum.
Yep.
And then because Pip is wearing the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. He dressed as like he's got like a weird like mask across his face. He's got like a black cape.
Yeah.
And then like initially he had like a black cowboy hat, but then Rex knocks that off his head. Yeah, so he's just chilling behind the drums with this mask on. He's like, I ain't farting on no snare drum. And I'm like, that is the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. Are you kidding me? Like I was literally laughing for like several minutes. I was like, this is so funny. But yeah, so. Yeah, but you know, Jimmy's like hit the music anyway.
Yeah.
But
doesn't
so
he, like throw his guitar behind his back.
Yeah.
I remember that shot.
the entire band just goes, fuck it, we're not playing. Because Pip's just sitting back there not hitting the drums as the drums are playing over. And yeah, Chaz like flings the guitar behind his back and just stands like this, and I was like,
I am a golden god.
Yeah. So then, you know, they Ian then grabs the mic and tells the group, like the fans, to come over.
Yeah.
So then the Lone Rangers just start destroying the set, which, as a Nine Inch Nails fan, loved that. So yeah, they're shoving the things over, they're smashing, whatever. Oh, it's great. They crowd surf off, and then it cuts to them in prison.
Yeah. And
they're performing the song, and. Then Ian's now their manager. He's on the phone with somebody, and he's like, they start touring in 6 months. 3 if they behave themselves. And then you get like the nice little scroll of like, they served 3 months, you know, and then they went triple platinum. And very, like, for me, a very feel-good movie.
Yeah.
And I just, I told you it's been tactically deployed a few times in the past 2 weeks as like a calming, like Metz isn't happy. Okay, play AIRHEADS.
Again, it's that one of those like warm, feel good, fuzzy '90s movies for me.
Yeah.
Like when I think about that movie, I think about that time period, hanging out at the Echelon Mall and the Echo Multiplex with Kevin Oros and stuff like that. And I'm just like, oh yeah, I love this. And then we getting the soundtrack at Sam Goody when that was still a thing. Oh no, The Wall, because it had that sticker on it. So yeah, I don't know. It's definitely one that I haven't seen in a long time. But the more you were talking about it, the more I was like, I gotta go back and. But I remember so much of all of those movies.
It really it stands out. Like even as by like the 3rd or 4th watch, I was already like I knew the lines.
But man, it failed.
I know.
It was a huge failure.
And that's the thing in general. Because, okay, off the bat, so first time I was watching through it, Neil was like, I have something unfortunate to tell you. And I was like, do not tell me anything that's going to ruin this movie for me. That was like halfway through watching it. And I was like, what the fuck? But now I'm all anxious, so I made him tell me. He's like, oh, it bombed. I'm like, I don't give a fuck!
I don't care about that, yeah. Yummy movies, great movies,
like,
nobody saw.
It bombed? Okay, fine. And everyone's just wrong then.
And that director's gone on to do like a lot of TV stuff, a lot of Dexter. But like, yeah, it was just that.
Yeah, so I'm discovering that about a lot of Brendan Fraser stuff, because obviously I'm going through and I'm watching a whole bunch of his stuff. I've seen maybe like 10-ish, 12, 12, I don't remember. I listed them to you earlier.
I totally forgot he was in Journey to the Center of the Earth.
He's great.
He's
such a fucking nerd in that movie.
Totally forgot that movie, yeah. And he's got that one cameo. He's in one scene of the kids in the hall brain candy.
I am going to end up watching that whole thing.
He's in a placebo group, and then he's like, "Is it sugar in it? Because my face is telling me it's sugar." And he's got pimples all over his head.
But yeah, but as I'm clicking on all these movies, because like Gerald's downloading them for me because he's a very good friend, and then he's putting them on the Plex, and I'm able to like watch it. But like as I'm clicking on them, I'm seeing the reviews, like the little like it's got the spilled popcorn and like the Rotten Tomatoes spot, and I'm like, all of these bombed? Like the only ones that I've watched that didn't bomb were George of the Jungle and The Mummy.
Yeah.
All the other ones were just like 20%.
They were both huge. Like George of the Jungle was huge. which is weird. Like because I didn't see that in the theater. And then they made a Dudley Do-Right movie after that.
Which I'm going to watch. That's also him as well.
But I was just like, what's so weird? His career took a weird trajectory.
Yeah, super weird. But I think Encino Man also was not a flop.
No, Encino Man did really well.
That one did well. But like most of them, I'm queuing it up. And
Pauly Shore originally wanted to be in Airheads.
So I haven't seen a whole lot of Pauly Shore. If I have, I didn't process it. In Encino Man, he's like so funny. I think I described the way he speaks, because everything he says I want to repeat. Yeah.
We's in the gist.
The fact that everyone over the course of the movie starts talking like him, like I get it. I want to say everything he's saying as he's like. And
I love that Sean Astin is in that movie.
He's such a dick in this movie.
He's in that. The kid who was Short Round Indiana Jones and Brendan Fraser. Encino Man has 3 Academy Award winners in it, you know?
But what the fuck did I say? I said that Pauly Shore speaks like I think I said if a gay guy and a valley girl like combined and smoked a bunch of weed.
His parents were the owners of like this big comedy club in Los Angeles.
Okay.
And that's where he got started. He's in a really terrible movie called Phantom of the Mall, Eric's Revenge. And he's like the guy who works at like the ice cream place, and he's just like it's terrible.
Oh,
but it's hilarious, and he's just doing Pauly Shore in it.
Does he talk like that in a lot of his
every movie? In the Army now.
Oh, he's also in that.
He's in that one. He's in.
I know that Fraser's in that. That's why I know it's on
Jury. He was Jury Duty. I think was the one. Son-in-Law.
Okay.
Which Son-in-Law has just one line that Kevin and I used to repeat to each other all the time was the dad's trying to teach him how to use like the tractor or whatever. And he's like, you gotta push the thing. He's like, the blinkin', and it just the way he says the blinkin'. And
everything he says, I'm like, I need to listen.
So we used to just quote that to each other. When we were playing hockey. We would just like, I'd be skating past him, calling for the puck, and I'd be like, the blinkin'. So people playing with us probably thought we were fucking retarded, you know? But Pauly Shore's another one of those ones. Andy Dick was in a lot of those movies.
Okay.
Biodome, which I've been to the actual Biodome when I lived in Tucson. Kylie Minogue is in that movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But no, Airheads
Airheads is phenomenal.
It's a fun movie.
I think so. Of all the Brendan Fraser things I've watched thus far, my top 3. So the few that I've kept on repeat are Scrubs episodes, which I saw initially way back. Not when they first aired because I was 5, but and then I was 7 for the last one.
Yeah.
But I remembered it though. But and then obviously Airheads, and then I told you this morning I made the grave error of watching Passion of Darkly Noon.
Yeah.
And by grave error, I mean I'm too obsessed with it, and I'm just gonna be switching those 3 and just watching them over. I did rewatch Encino Man a couple times.
Definitely check out. I think I want to know what you think of Gods and Monsters, though, because that's an important movie to me because it's about the making of Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein and how queer coded it was and all that kind of stuff. And I liked his character in that. The idea of like masculinity in it, I think, is a cool thing, you know. So yeah.
But yeah, no, I've just been on a Brendan Fraser kick. That's it. Because I don't know. I'm not doing well. No. So now I'm like.
But now you can
full hyperfixation.
And I love that he's had a comeback.
Yes.
You know, because he was kind of like I'd say from the early 2000s on, he was blacklisted.
Yeah. He was blacklisted for a while.
Yeah, because he was a producer came on to him and he rejected it. Yeah. So he was big deal. He was in a lot of shit and then he just kind of vanished.
Yeah.
And it was cool to see him come back with Doom Patrol. He plays Robot Man in it.
Yes. I keep seeing gifs of that because I'll just look up. I'm trying to look up the specific things that I'm really attached to, so like Ben Sullivan from Scrubs. Yeah. But there are a lot of people named Ben Sullivan, so that's difficult. I've been looking up Airheads. There's like nothing. There's like a few that I've already scrolled through all of the gift sets that people posted on Tumblr, and then I'm trying to look up. I was trying to look up Passion of Darkly Noon and got again like a handful of gift sets. Now I'm just scrolling through Brendan Fraser because that's the only thing I can do to get. But
yeah, he's a scumbag race car driver who dies, and they put his brain in a robot. Because basically Doom Patrol. X-Men ripped off Doom Patrol.
Okay.
It's about this dude in a wheelchair who puts together a team of
like misfits,
freaks and misfits, and like Negative Man and all that kind of. It's It's great.
Okay.
I really, really like it.
All right. I'm excited.
And it's got a great cast in it as well. Matt Bomer is Negative Man. I love his whole thing. He's a guy who basically like he died. He was in this accident where his spirit can leave his body and do stuff, but then has to go back to his body. But his body has to be completely bandaged at all times because he's so badly burned.
Oof.
Yeah, it's a really cool, weird, quirky show.
Okay.
And like I told you, the one girl has all these multiple personalities.
Oh,
but
right,
each
right.
multiple personality has a superpower.
That's crazy.
There's Flex Metallo in a character in it, and he's basically the dude from the back of all the 50s comic books, like the strong guy. Yeah. But he can like flex certain parts of his body and make things happen. When he flexes a certain way, everyone has an orgasm, and he can't stop it. So like the army's like facing off with him, and everybody's coming, and they're trying.
Oh my god, that's.
It's a cool show. You'll like it. All right, so that's Airheads.
This is 33 minutes shorter than the runtime of it.
All right. Hell, I mean, we used to do reviews on the old channel that were longer than the movie, but yeah. So we'll do more Brendan Fraser reviews. We definitely should do Gods and Monsters though.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. So all right, that's Airheads.